we are eternal beings and we have one eternal life that lasts forever, why we rush to spiritually advance? We have all of eternity to do this. Yeah, not really. And I'm going to tell you why. In absolute terms, absolutely yes. We have all eternity. We've got to learn whatever we have to learn and develop whatever we have to develop. And one way or another, this is going to happen. But it's not so true that it doesn't matter and tomorrow is the same as today. This is an idea that in practice does not work. Why? Because we have the passage of time, or something that we call time, and maybe what we call time is a specific phenomena of multidimensional level, but we have something that is. Everything keeps changing. Things keep happening. So you imagine that if you are in a certain condition, that you had an opportunity to do something to prevent a war, or you had neighbors that were being persecuted, you were in a condition that very important situations were happening and you could do something, and you don't. You have eternity to do that. But to all of those people, something actually happened. There is a record, an information that is there for us, somehow in our evolutionary records, just to create here a word for us to bring an idea that it's an abstraction, but it's a real fact. When we go through death, and this is observation from many research study, but also we see conditions like that when we are in out-of-body experiences. The person starts looking back to what one did or did not. And then the feeling sometimes is like there was a train that I had to catch and I lost the train. Can I get the next one? Yes, but it won't be the same people. When you reach your destination, whatever was to happen in that moment is not there to happen. So in relative terms, it's like everything is moving. And if we don't move with all of that at the proper speed that we can, we feel lost, we feel bad, we feel lonely, we feel guilty. And that's what many people feel when they go through biological death, that they reevaluate their lives and they see that they lost opportunities. So we are talking about opportunities that come and go. And sometimes one opportunity that presents itself in this lifetime is going to take lots of lifetimes until all the pieces of the puzzle and all the people that we were with are present there. So no, there is no rush to advance spiritually. No, because the word rush and do an effort, it doesn't make sense when we talk about spiritual advance, because we are talking about something that is pretty much what we are, who we are. We are as lucid, as ethical or cosmo-ethical, like cosmic ethics, as I like to say, as we can. We are as evolved as we can be at this point. We cannot be more. But given the level of evolution that we have, when we apply all of what we have developed, those are tools. Tools that allow us to feel more settled inside, to feel happier. Happiness is some sort of peace of mind. When we don't doubt ourselves, when we feel whatever is happening, I understand it. I can control who I am. I can control how I feel. And the truth is, I do not know you guys, but sometimes we cannot control how we feel. We know there's something that we should do different. We should think different. But at the end of the day, we just have some characteristics inside of us that if they were not there or if they were different, we would feel much better. We spread much better energy around of us. We make the environment, but not only our place, but it's almost like a wave that goes from all of us to everywhere. I'm not going to say to the infinite, because we are already with enough abstract concepts, but it goes through all dimensions. But the thing is, whatever is in the energy field of the other person and the other, all of that also goes to whichever level it can be. So we create a network of energy connections, and we are going to reverberate, resonate to those that are more in affinity with us. Everything is like registered. It's not someone taking note. It's registered on our own energy. We know what we felt. We know what we thought. We know what our real intentions were. This doesn't go away. And that's why sometimes there are some experiences that we have in a certain moment in one of our lifetimes that we have to experience it different and do different until we kind of make that more balanced manifestation in that specific attribute much higher in intensity and in frequency of cases that it happened than the unbalanced, not so ethical, not so lucid action that we have had in the past. So we keep learning, and we are doing mistakes every day. I am. At least I try not to do mistakes that are obvious. But sometimes even so, as I said, we have a certain thought, a certain emotion that you think, oh, I should be more in peace right now. Oh, I should be more patient. Oh, I should think more long term. Oh, I should connect with something bigger. But then in that moment we cannot. So it shows our limitations. But the more we advance spiritually, the more we influence others, we are going to reverberate towards different things. And when everything keeps moving on and we look around, we are not alone. Those we loved in this life, in other lives, and everything we have experienced, everything we have learned, every effort we have made towards achieving something not only for ourselves, but for others, for the community. Whatever we have done, we look and it mattered because we went together. The feeling of losing the train, missing the train, I'm sorry, I'm using the wrong word here, of missing the train, that you are there and all of a sudden, I was not in time, I was not in time. That is not a nice feeling when we look back to how we chose things. And of course, I am not addressing directly your question, but I am bringing lots of observations that we can do when we are projected outside the body, when we have past life recalls, when we hear people who have had certain specific types of experience that were more transcendental, and frankly, some feelings that we do have in everyday life sometimes, and putting all of that into perspective. There is no rush to advance spiritually because it's fake. But to whatever level it's truly ours, it's nice that we keep moving on without pressure. The word rush that you use here also makes me think of something else, because some people, it's like they because they know something conceptually, they think they are that already. They get confused. There are so many things that I know conceptually, and not necessarily I can achieve them 100%. Once I was giving a talk when we were still in London. We met in London, right, Scott? So I have your question. Here it is interesting that this comes to my mind. But I was giving a talk there, and there was someone very nice among the small crowd that we had there, who was with a friend. He brought a friend there. And at the end of the talk, they stayed a little while longer and started chatting to me, and he asked me something that I could not understand. It took me a while. His precise words were, "Do you get tired of not doing life?" And then, but what do you mean? What do you mean? Until I understand that for him, talking about spiritual evolution or talking about finding out who we are truly inside and learning about what exists beyond physical life and trying to find better principles for ourselves, all of that for him was tiring. Was like he had to act in certain ways. And it doesn't work. It has to be natural. Who does not want to feel better inside of oneself? Everyone would like that. Who prefers hating instead of loving? Who prefers hurting instead of caressing? Nobody. Only someone who is already so hurt that is totally weak inside. So if we just allow ourselves to recognize what are the well-developed attributes that we have, those that are inside of us, and we make use of them, we find tools to develop beyond the point that we are already, so we can enjoy being able to think of different solutions and acting in different ways. I am so passionate about this topic. Actually, this is kind of what made me start researching all of this, because I feel like there's got to be a reason, right? Why things happen and why we are here. And nobody is so perfect. I have to tell you another story, but I promise it's going to be short. Once I was very young, probably 17, 18, very long time ago. But I heard of a sort of a community, like a retreat community. And I was thinking, what should I do with my knowledge, with my life? Where am I going to invest to help? And I went to visit that community and I spent there quite some time, perhaps like 5 weeks. I wanted to know if that was the proper path for me to develop and to be able to do something with the feeling I had inside that the more we understand about life, the happier and stronger we can feel. So I spent 5 lovely weeks there. Every morning, 5 a.m., we had to meditate, but it was a nice practice because there was nothing to do in the evening. 9 p.m., we were already in bed. And all day long, only thinking about being peaceful and merging with the energy of nature. It was a lovely experience, actually, an experience that sometimes we have similar things here in our campus, and it was so productive for me. But I saw a few things there. One was that some people who were residents, and I considered being a resident there, I was considering better things. So some people who were residents, they were always so like seeing fairies. I do not know if it makes sense what I'm saying. Was like, oh, look at the birds. Oh, I put so much love there. Oh, that flower told me about my past. And I look and I say, wow, these people, they are, especially one girl that was there, she was probably around her 30s, 35. So, and she was always saying so beautiful things, so positive. To me, it was a little bit too much. Until end of the 4th week, she went to São Paulo city because she had to renew her ID document. So she went and then she stopped in the street. And how is São Paulo? So imagine you are in the middle of Times Square, New York. People are stressed, they are rushing. Sometimes you bump into someone, you have to look at what time it is, you have to look for the subway and go to certain places. And when she came back, that little flower was like a monster, because she was like, the man could not reply to me when I asked directions. He said, blah, 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 whatever. When I look at that, say, I'm not going to come and live here. You know why? because it's not truthful. People can be so beautiful and so peaceful and talk about so beautiful things because they're isolated. They're isolated from the sort of stresses that we have in our everyday life, dealing with our husbands, with our wives, with our partners, or with the lack of, dealing with the neighbor, and dealing with documents, and dealing with politics, and whatever it is in the country where you are. So then I say, no, whatever I do, I have to do there, where my balance means I am learning to be more independent of what is around. Have I reached that 100%? No, I'm far from it. But I think I am much ahead in terms of experience, in terms of out-of-body experience, in terms of understanding my energy of others, helping environments, helping people, managing my own energy, being able to get rid of situations in the energy that I may experience, then maybe any of those are, or were at that time. At least I cannot say how they are, but they were. So I see that life taught me a lot, and I try to be truthful. I don't pretend to be perfect, and I only see fairies. Sometimes we see very good, we sense, right? We connect with very good spiritual beings, but sometimes there are awful things, awful. We need to be able to admit things like this. Then because someone is familiar with energy, knows techniques, study, research, develop, then they are perfect. That is the problem, Scott, that I think a lot of these spiritual studies create, because people feel that they are forced to be who they are not. Whilst I think the real spirituality is look at ourselves and recognize ourselves as a transcendent being, a real spirit, and recognize what is it that we have already achieved. How is probably the place where we came from, in between lives? What sort of community we're in? What is it that we could develop? Acknowledging ourselves as beings, as spiritual selves, is a big act of self-love, and acknowledging what we still need to develop is very spiritual. Not pretending we are who we are not. That is not spiritual. Thanks. Sorry for the long answer, guys.